One of the true issues that a lot of people have, of course, with the former royals known as Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex.
It happened so quietly, too quietly for what it truly meant. At exactly 9:14 a.m., Buckingham Palace's press office dropped a statement so cold, so calculated, it shook the internet to its core. Following a comprehensive constitutional review, the status of the children of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex has been clarified and confirmed in accordance with the Crown's lineage protocol. That's it. Just one sterile line. But behind those words, an earthquake. Within minutes, the BBC plastered it with a red breaking banner. Sky News followed in seconds. The palace hadn't said the names outright, but every royal watcher knew what those 34 words really meant. After years of silence, of whispers stretching across the Atlantic, Buckingham Palace had finally confirmed who Archie and Lilibet truly are in the eyes of the monarchy. The internet went from calm to chaos. People refreshing Twitter every second, TikToks erupting, thousands of comments per minute. Everyone, from die-hard royal fans to cynical critics, was scrambling to decode every syllable of that statement. Some called it justice, others called it betrayal. Even seasoned royal commentators, the ones who normally hide emotion behind British politeness, were stunned. For nearly half a decade, one question lingered like smoke over royal corridors and gossip shows alike. Were Harry and Meghan's children still royal? Had the aftermath of Megxit, that bombshell departure from the palace, silently rewritten the bloodlines of Windsor? Now that question had an answer, but oh, the way they said it. In accordance with protocol. So vague, so deliberate. It avoided every word the public was dying to hear. Prince, princess, heir, lineage. Instead, the omission screamed louder than any royal trumpet. Their children's titles, their positions, their protection, their identity. All of it now hung in the silence of that carefully worded phrase. And while the palace may have thought this was diplomacy, the world saw it for what it was, a royal redefinition.
Incessant lies, they're just everywhere. Meghan's secret wedding, right? Suddenly we had all of her medical conditions.
In Montecito, California, thousands of miles away from the royal gates, the mood couldn't have been more different. Sources close to the Sussexes whispered that Meghan was in her kitchen when the alert flashed across her phone, her coffee still hot, her expression frozen. One aide said she didn't speak for several seconds. Another recalled her whispering just one sentence under her breath. So, they finally said it. Harry, however, already knew. He didn't read it online like the rest of us. He'd been briefed and booked. Within 2 hours, a Gulfstream G650 lifted off from Santa Barbara Airport under heightened security. No entourage, no Netflix crew, no publicist, just Harry. The man who once said he'd never step foot in that world again, flying straight back into it. By midday, London looked like a scene out of a movie. Gray skies, royal reporters swarming the mall, camera flashes painting Buckingham Palace gold. The question on everyone's lips, is this about the children? Has the line of succession changed? Inside the palace, things were no less intense. The statement hadn't been born overnight. It followed months of closed-door meetings, constitutional debates, and pressure from Parliament itself. The reason? To remove ambiguity around non-resident descendants. Translation? Make things official. Before anyone else could challenge it, this was legacy work, not emotion, not family. The monarchy was defining who belonged and who didn't. For Harry and Meghan, this wasn't about titles or prestige. This was about identity, not theirs, but their children's. Archie, just 4, Lilibet, only 2, born into a world that judged them before they could even speak. And now, quietly, written into or out of royal history. And if the palace thought this announcement would close the chapter, oh no, it only opened a darker one. Because once Buckingham Palace breaks its silence, someone always ends up paying the price.
This year, when she suddenly decided to reveal all while sitting down for those infamous and failing podcasts. But can one really be any bigger?
Hours later, the jet touched down in a gray, cold London. No red carpet, no guards in gold buttons, just the quiet hiss of hydraulics and the thud of boots on the runway. Prince Harry stepped out, alone. The man once known as the palace's wildest son, now walking like a ghost returning to the battlefield. No cameras this time, just long lenses watching from a distance. He didn't wave, didn't smile, his jaw tight, his eyes hidden under his coat collar, every move deliberate. A discreet convoy waited. Not the royal fleet, but plain dark vehicles meant for private crown operations. No family, no aides beyond one. Silence so thick it felt royal in itself. By the time Harry reached Clarence House, global networks were looping the footage. Prince returns to London amid royal children clarification. But this wasn't a royal visit. This was a confrontation. Inside the palace, chaos wore a mask of calm. Phones silenced. Staff under no comment orders. The corridors of Buckingham Palace had turned into a chessboard. At the center of it all sat King Charles III, the father, the monarch, the man balancing blood and duty. The very same letter Harry had read on his flight now lay on his father's desk, stamped, sealed, irreversible. Harry didn't sit. He simply said, "You couldn't call me? You couldn't call her?" Charles looked up from the paper, voice cool, distant. "There were protocols, my boy." Harry's laugh cut through the silence, short, bitter. "Protocols? You're talking about my children." Charles didn't flinch. "I'm talking about the monarchy." And that was it. That invisible line drawn between father and king. Witnesses later said the meeting unraveled fast. Voices raised, aides dismissed, doors slammed. Harry accused the palace of rewriting his children's identity just to protect the crown's image. "You wanted a clean succession for Parliament," he snapped. Charles denied it, but everyone in that building knew. The political pressure was real. Some members of Parliament had long pushed to restrict royal titles for non-working royals living abroad. But what cut Harry deepest wasn't politics. It was timing. The same week Archie's school forms were due in California, his royal title was quietly deleted from official documents in London. "Do you even understand what you've done?" Harry's voice cracked. "I've ensured stability," Charles said coldly. "It's what your grandmother would have done." And that ended it. Harry stood still for a long, painful moment before saying, "You think this will bring peace? It won't." When he walked out of Clarence's house, aides said the king stayed seated, staring at the paper for 10 minutes, motionless. Outside, London drizzled like it always does for royal heartbreaks. Harry climbed into the car. His phone buzzed. It was Meghan. "It's confirmed," she wrote. "I need you home." As the car rolled away from the gates, the realization hit him. This wasn't about paperwork or tradition. This was about bloodlines, and the crown had just redrawn them. The next morning, London woke up to another kind of storm. Not the kind that soaked the cobblestones, but the kind that rewrote history in black ink. At exactly 10 a.m., the Privy Council chamber fell silent. Those old portraits of long-gone monarchs seemed to stare down as if they too were holding their breath. The agenda? Just one line. Clarification of royal lineage in accordance with constitutional precedent. The room was packed. Senior advisors, legal scholars, members of parliament, and at the center of it all, King Charles, face carved in stone. No cameras, no press, no family. But history was about to be rewritten right there inside those gilded walls. One advisor stood up, voice dry, words heavy. "The matter concerns the future classification of the descendants of the Duke of Sussex." That single sentence changed everything. "The Crown Office recommends," he continued, "that their titles be recorded under civilian classification within the official royal register." Silence. Then the words that would ripple across the world. "They will remain of royal blood, but not of royal style." To the institution, those were just 6 harmless words. But to her, they were the knife that split fairy tale from exile. And when the statement hit social media, it mutated into something colder. "Palace confirms Harry's children not royal." 6 words that erased an entire identity. Headlines blared, hashtags exploded. Hashtag Archie, hashtag Lilibet, hashtag no longer royal, hashtag shocker from the palace. Somewhere in the chaos of trending feeds, the human story disappeared. It was dawn in Montecito when the courier arrived. A man in plain black, silent, expressionless, carrying a single white envelope embossed with gold. The royal seal glimmered faintly in the California sunlight, that same emblem that once meant belonging. Now it meant something else, finality. Meghan held it in her hands for almost a minute before she opened it. Harry was still in London. The house was too quiet. Even the sound of Archie's laughter upstairs felt distant. Inside the envelope, in accordance with the Privy Council's ruling and constitutional advisement, the titles and royal styles associated with the children of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been clarified. Their formal status shall henceforth reflect that of civilian descendants of the royal family. No greeting, no sympathy, no humanity, just bureaucracy. She read it once, then again, and again. Each time the words cut deeper. Civilian descendants. She whispered them aloud. They still sounded cruel. At the bottom, the signature, not the king's. The Lord Chamberlain. He hadn't even signed it himself. Her phone began buzzing. Hundreds of messages. Journalists, friends, curious strangers. Everyone wanted a reaction, but Meghan didn't have one. Not yet. She stepped outside into the garden. The California sun felt painfully bright against the ink that had just darkened her world. She gripped the letter tightly, the wind tugging at its edge. She didn't let it go. Inside, one aide whispered, "She hasn't cried yet." But they were wrong. Meghan wasn't holding back tears. She was holding back belief. Across the Atlantic, royal insiders tried to sell it as modernization. Morning shows debated constitutional language like it was a game. But for Meghan, it wasn't politics. It was her children's names. The Daily Mail called it the final chapter. The Washington Post called it the palace's coldest decision yet. For Meghan, it was simply the moment the fairy tale officially died. She called Harry. No answer. She called again. Still nothing. When he finally picked up, she said just one line. "They took their birthright, Harry, and they made it sound like paperwork." There was silence. Then Harry's voice, low and hollow. "I told you they would." And in that moment, the Atlantic felt wider than ever. One world ruled by protocol, the other by heartbreak. The corridors of Clarence House were ice cold. Staff whispered instead of speaking. Doors clicked instead of slamming. Inside the king's study, that same folder sat on his desk like a ghost he couldn't banish. Harry arrived at dusk, alone again. No cameras, no press, just footsteps echoing down marble halls lined with portraits of kings who'd all believed they were doing the right thing. Charles looked up as Harry entered. "Sit," he said softly. Harry didn't. "You sent her that letter," he said flatly. "It had to come from the institution," Charles replied. "She's my wife," Harry shot back. "They're your grandchildren." For a heartbeat, the room wasn't royal. It was human. Two men, both broken by a crown. Charles finally stood, his voice low but trembling. "Do you think I wanted this? Do you think this gives me pleasure?" Harry's reply was razor sharp. "No, I think you wanted control. You always did." The door creaked open. Prince William entered, uninvited but expected. He nodded at his father, then at his brother, eyes avoiding Harry's. "I didn't come to fight," he said carefully, "but this isn't just about you. It's about keeping the monarchy alive." Harry laughed, humorless, bitter. "So erasing your niece and nephew is what survival looks like now?" William's tone hardened. "You made your choice when you left, Harry. You wanted independence. This is what it looks like." "I wanted peace," Harry said. "Not punishment." "Enough," Charles cut in. His voice still carried the command of kings. Both sons froze, because no matter how far they'd drifted, his authority still held. "I delayed this for months," Charles said quietly. "Parliament wanted clarity. The crown must be consistent." "Consistent?" Harry's voice cracked. "You stripped children of titles they never asked for. You made them collateral in a war they don't even understand." For a moment, silence. Then, the line no one expected. "You think this is easy for me?" Charles said. "I've spent my life preparing for duty, and I've failed as a father because of it. But I cannot fail as a king." Harry stared at him, eyes glassy, voice breaking. "You already have." He turned to leave. William opened his mouth to speak, but Harry's look stopped him cold. Not anger, just finality. Harry walked out, the echo of his boots filling the corridor like a drumbeat. Staff turned away, pretending not to see. Inside, Charles sank into his chair, hands over his face. William stood at the window, staring at the gray London skyline. For a moment, they didn't look royal at all. Just men who finally realize power can't fix what it breaks. Outside, the rain started again, gentle, relentless, like London itself was mourning something ancient.